All right, we are back again, and thank you very much for joining. I see we have nearly 40 attendees this morning, so thank you very much for taking the time to log into this. My name is Rod Jones. I'm the brand ambassador for Callbi. Very proud to hold that title. And welcome to this. It's a demonstration of the powerful Callbi speech analytics solution, and specifically focusing on how we can use Callbi to automate key elements of your QA and compliance processes. So what you'll see shortly when I hand you over to Henriette is that Callbi makes speech analytics easy. You can see our new slogan there. It's easy to deploy, it's easy to configure, it's easy to use, and it's very, very easy on the budget. And that's why you'll see it's easy to see why in a little over a year, we've secured over 50 big brand South African contact centers who are now using Callbi exclusively. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Henriette Potgieter. Henriette is Callbi's Customer Success Executive and Head of Training, and she will take us through the morning session. Take about 40 minutes, maybe a little bit more on that. Please bear in mind that the chat line and the Q&A lines are open. So whilst Henriette is doing the demo, I'll be monitoring that and we'll raise any issues. So please feel free to use that. And also, I will reiterate it at the end of our session today. If you would like a personal demonstration of Callbi and commercial discussions around Callbi, please just drop us an email or let us know and we'll happily take it from there. So without further ado, Henriette, would you come in? Thank you very much. This is Henriette Potgieter who's going to take us through the demo. Henriette, you're live.
Morning. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Rod. And thank you everybody for joining us. See, we've got quite a nice audience. Definitely today, what I'm going to show you is, yes, how you can use Callbi to very easily look at 100% of your calls, to assess and to flag where you need to investigate, where there are QA fails, but also to comfortably know where your calls have passed so that you can do the next step if you need to process sales, for instance, things like those. So without further ado, I am going to jump straight in. Rod mentioned it might take 40 minutes. I think it might even take a bit less. I'm hoping that, and what I'm going to show you is from using your QA sheet, how you then go into Callbi, how easy it is to build a query. Once you've done all of those queries and checks, how you then pull it together into a scorecard, which automatically updates, and on a daily basis, weekly basis, you immediately can see how your calls have scored. So I'm just, for purposes of sharing my screen, I'm just going to stop my video, and then I'm going to start sharing the Callbi screen. Rod, if you can please just confirm as soon as you can see the Callbi screen in front of you, please.
Yes, confirm we're seeing Callbi.
Perfect. I'm also quite aware that we've got quite a mix of audience members who's joined us this morning. What I'm going to do, just to take a step back, for anybody who's not yet seen Callbi or anybody who hasn't yet had any dealings with what Callbi does, I'm going to just start right at the beginning. So with Callbi, it's a speech-to-text tool, speech-to-text application. What it basically means is all of your audio recordings, all of your call conversations, every single one of them, you can upload. Once that is uploaded, it then gets converted or transcribed into a text document, which we call a text transcript. So the beauty of that is 100% of all of your calls, every single conversation that happens in your call center, once it's uploaded, you can then have that right in front of you to access. I'm going to show you, and what you see in front of you is the list of calls once it's been uploaded. You can also attach various data or information points onto this call. For instance, if you are working in different types of centers, sales, customer services, different teams, you can also attach the call outcomes. If you're only interested in looking specifically at sales, non-sales, or general queries, anything like these, you can attach additional data that will help you mine into specific groups of calls. I'm going to show you, once a call has been loaded, what you then have in front of you is very easily, you can then see for every single call your text transcript. So this is now your text document that shows you exactly what was discussed on that call. Now with this, and we'll come back to the screens once I've shown you how to build the queries, but the beauty of what you can do now is because you are sitting with a text document for your conversations. It's as easy as doing a Google search, or as easy as clicking Control F on your keyboard or saying find a text word in a document. So what you do is under your queries, your query is where you build the actual words or phrases that needs to be looked for in your text transcripts. The first thing I'm going to show you is just how easy it is to actually build a query. And then I'm going to go into an example of a QA assessment sheet. And I'm going to show you how these queries have been built and how you can score. So first thing I'm going to show you, just very easy to build any new query, any user. When you click on Add Query, this is your query builder interface. In here, there's two ways. I'm firstly just going to show you very easily. If you know what you're looking for, you know what the statement is. And what I'm going to use here as an example is in a sales environment where they need to do a credit vetting consent. So they need to ask consent that they can do a credit check at the bureau in a sales call. In here, we know what are we looking for. So we will enter the words that needs to be looked for. So credit bureau check, or we can say consent for vetting, etc. So we do full training on this when we train. There's full training material available, but you will build out your query to then go look for specific words or phrases. Another way, which is the new feature that is really quite nice, is if you know what you're looking for, but you're not quite sure how the agents are saying it on the floor, you can also now use the topic cloud feature. Similar to a topic tree, what you will do, you will enter words or phrases that you know is part of the statement, but you're not quite sure the order of how they are saying what needs to be said. So in here, I'm going to enter credit check. When you click process, it will then show you in two word clouds the words that is found most often in front or before of these words you're looking for. And obviously the size of the word would mean how often it is. And then also the words preceding or following. So very easy now, we can say consent and we can click on the word. We can add the phrase and it will add that into your query builder. So in this way, you can also explore. We can also go say credit and let's go see, let's process. Perform credit. Okay, we want to include this into our query. So this is just a nice way to build out, which already shows you. And in here, you can filter. If I know I'm only interested in sales calls, I will in here as part of the data, click sell. And this is then how you can explore. So I'm not going to go too much into the details of query building because I do want to get to the QA part, but you will see now once you've built your query, and we also have a full process that you will go through, which you will ensure by doing a manual check as well, that your query is accurate. So you've got a full indication of confidence level, how confident you can be in the results of those queries across 100% of your calls. But what you then get is a list of calls that get flagged back that contains one of these words or phrases, dependent how you've built your query. So in here, when you open it, will then show you, it will take you immediately highlighted to the specific words or phrases highlighted in that call. The other thing I just want to show you, as much as you can build a query to look for words being said or the presence of statements or words, you can also build a query to look for the absence. And in QA speak, this would be your fails. They did not do what they were supposed to. So very easy. Again, I'm just going to show you. If we now build an inverse query, we are now saying return all the calls where this is not present. And in here, you will now see the opposite. And this would be all of your failed calls for this specific check. So what I'm going to show you now, and let's go back into the queries. I'm just going to discard this. I'm going to just drag in an example call assessment sheet. Rod, please, if you please just can confirm again that you can see the Excel sheet in front of you.
It's not up yet.
Not up yet. That's fine. Let's just double check. That's not a problem. I'm just going to stop share quickly, and then I'm just going to reshare again, just to make sure that we can see it. So I want to share this and that. Perfect. Let's try again. Let me
We're,
know now
we're
if you
seeing
can see
you.
it.
I can see your score sheet. Confirmed.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. So typically what you would know if you are working with traditional QA, if you're not yet using a QA system, is traditionally you would probably be using an Excel score sheet, even in a QA system. But how it would work is you will have your QA checks, your categories. Under there, you would have your specific check or requirement, and then just what it is that the agent needs to do. Now, what you would do with manual QA is you will listen to the call. You will listen whether whatever they need to say is being said. You will then rate the call in terms of yes, they did, or no, they didn't do it, etc., etc. And in this way, you build your score. The thing with manual QA is you do not have the resources to listen to every single call. So mostly with manual QA, you would work on a sample. With a Callbi or a speech analytics, you will be looking at 100% of calls. So what I'm going to show you now with all of these checks, how you can use Callbi and how I've built queries that now replaces the human ear. So instead of needing to listen, you've got a query that checks for the words and immediately flags. So in here, I'm just going to remove, and I'm going to take you into all of the QA queries that I've built. I'm not going to go into every single one, but I'm just going to show you. So the first one, remember, in terms of call opening, the introduction, did the agent use the correct greeting? In here, it's been built to look specifically, are they saying what they need to say? From this query, you flag all your calls where they did the correct greeting. And in this way, you will continue, you will build all of your queries for all of your separate checks. You can see we've got all the call opening, introducing the reason for the call, asking if it is a convenient time to speak. Very important, those compliance checks, and I want to show some of them. The fact that they need to mention that calls are recorded. Something I also want to mention and point out is Callbi supports South African English, so all the various accents, Callbi very accurately transcribes on those accents. It also supports Afrikaans, isiZulu, and Sesotho. So you will see in here when you build your query, there's no need to build separate queries for all your separate languages. Callbi automatically switches when it picks up on these mixed languages or different languages. So you can also build your query with your vernac and Afrikaans and all different phrases in there. But in here, this is your call recorded. I'm just going to show a quick one, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details. But for instance, under the financial services provider statement, you will build your query, you'll run through your accuracy check. But once you've done that, you now have, by means of a query, an exact indication of which of your calls met which of your checks. Now that you've built your queries, what you then do, you pull it all together in your dashboards very easily. Now, in your dashboards, you can create various layouts. You can build for different groups, different teams. I'm only going to show you the one I've created for auto QA. Callbi has got a functionality which we call a scorecard. Now, in a scorecard, what you do, you put all of your queries, and I'm quickly going to scroll through and I'm then going to show you how you can create the card. But you include and build your scorecard, similar to your Excel, where you now add all the queries that needs to be scored or all of your checks that must be included in your scoring. So you'll see in here the call opening, we can see reason for call, and you'll see that this all matches that Excel sheet. Calls recorded, the FSP statement, etc. So now that you've built this, what you can see, and again, you can filter. So again, you can only score certain teams. In this case, it is a sales scorecard, so we only want to score certain sales, but you can use this filter to make sure you only score the relevant calls that you want to score. What you now have in front of you is based on every single call loaded into Callbi that matches your filter. It shows as you scroll to your right, which of those checks were passed. So all of your queries that were matched, which means on a single call, 100% means it was passed, and then which were failed. So where you see a 0, it will then obviously be a fail. So these scorecards you can group. Currently, it's based on a per call basis. Now, you can also integrate via API where you can get the information out via, if you've got a process where every single call needs to pass 100% in terms of a confirmation, you can use this automatically, immediately. If you've got a call with 100%, you can pass it on. You can also group the scorecards, and I'm going to show you. If you are looking at a QA score per agent, you can group it in this way. So all the cards, all the various cards, dependent on your metadata, you can group. If we're only looking at specific teams, you can do it in this way. So first thing I'm quickly going to show you is just how easy it is to create the scorecard. It's as easy as click, you add. I'm going to build a compliance scorecard. You select that you want to see scorecard. You can then select your grouping like I've shown you. So in this case, let's say I want to see per agent. And here you now build out your card. You know you've created your queries. You know they're all there. You simply just click and you add. And all your queries you've built will be available from your dropdown. In here, I am going to add all my compliance queries that I've built. Customer has been authenticated, FSP statement was done, etc., etc. Credit vetting consent, and I'm just going to add one more. That was, and marketing consent. You'll also see, because on many QA scorecards, you get different weightings for your different checks. Now, I'm sure on a compliance, everything would weigh equally. But if it is a normal scorecard, or if your weighting is differently, in here, you will then add your weighting. So if you are working in a percentage, you can just simply add those percentages. If it doesn't add up to 100, or if you're working in a point system, let's say 5 points, 10 points, 10 points and 5 points, Callbi will calculate it back into a percentage. So this is how you create your card. You'll see now that we've created it. Remember the filter, we only want to score specific calls. I want to score all my sales calls. Right now, you can immediately see this is your scorecard on 100% of calls. Now, the easy thing, and where you now start flagging your fails, is that query that I've shown you where you build a fail query. So let's quickly go back, QA fails. These are all your queries that look for the absence of. So it's a fail. If your call matches this, it means the call failed. So calls recorded statement not met or not read. You now use these fail queries to highlight and create individual dashboards. In here, what I've created is per agent, all of the calls per agent where the QA fail query for calls recorded, not informed, was matched. So similarly, you can build various cards for all your different checks. But from here, you can sort these lists. When you click, it now takes you straight into the list for that specific agent where that fail occurred. So that's as easy as click, go in. Anybody who needs to coach or anybody who needs to have a look at this can now open, and they can see exactly and coach on this call. I'm also going to show you just very nifty on the individual call screen is you can at a glance see all of the queries that has been matched. So we can already see she did ask, is it a convenient time to speak? She did say reason for call. And even from here, you can click and it will take you to the spot which was matched. So that was the individual and scoring 100% of your calls. The one thing that we haven't built a query for that I'm just also going to show you, and I'm just going to drag over the Excel sheet again. Many QA tools or QA checks also looks at agent being efficient. Did they deal sufficiently or efficiently? Were there no long pauses, etc.? Now with Callbi, what Callbi does, which is really also nice, I'm going to take you back into the call screen, is in here, and let's just quickly clear the filter. What Callbi does is when a recording gets loaded, it firstly calculates the duration of the recording. So that's from start until end. But because it does speech to text, it then also calculates what part of that recording was there an actual conversation. So where were there words that were being transcribed? Now, the difference between these two is your dead air. It's what you would be looking for when you assess the call, where there was mumbling or long silences or long holds, anything like that. Now, Callbi shows this as a percentage across that recording. What it does further is it also splits out what part of the silence was at the end of your conversation. So you can see, and typically this is where the conversation was ended. The customer or the debtor or whoever was on the phone stopped talking, they ended the conversation, but the agent did not hang up the call. Now, these are all your inefficiencies which could be pointing towards a training need. The agent didn't have the product knowledge needed, or there was a system issue or needed support on the floor, or it could be agent behavioral. So instead of now manually QAing a sample of calls to check here and there if the agent is being efficient, again, you can use this information and build out cards that will immediately flag your outlier agents where there are high instances of calls with many silences. The example I've built here is looking per agent, any call longer than a minute with a silence percentage more than 40%. And again, remember from here, you can toggle, you can sort, you can click, and it will take you straight to that list of calls. And when you then click in immediately, you can listen, you can play, you can see where the silences are, and you can address wherever you need to address anything. So this was pretty much what I did want to show you. This is your auto QA scoring. What I always say is, because we many times get the question around query accuracy, remember the process is there to include any variations. You can work on your query to get it as accurate as between 85% and 100%. And this is looking at 100% of calls. So immediately you can flag where there are issues, you can address where you need to address anything, and you can work more efficiently with your QA resources, where instead of spending time to find what needs to be coached, they now simply just click, they've got what needs to be coached, and they can immediately start affecting change. This was auto scoring 100% of calls. One thing I also just wanted to show is we've got various generic queries, which also helps with the query building process. A lot of collateral available. We, for instance, because a lot of times we will get the question around insights, customer experience insights. We've got details available, which is ready for copy and paste. That will show you, for instance, was there long hold time? Or was there a need to transfer? So as we build all of this, we make it available, which again will help you to build your queries if you don't know where to start. That was everything from me, Rod. I did say I'm going to make it probably less than the 40 minutes. This is how easy it is. So I think what we can maybe do is if there's anything you want me to touch on or maybe go through or maybe address any questions if we've got.
That was great, Henriette. Thanks so much for that. What I would like you to do is to explain how we can export the data from the scorecards and from your queries. Could you pick up on that, please?
Perfect. Thank you, Rod. Most definitely will do. So firstly, easiest way, any of these scorecards, let's just set it back again to an agent level or however you're working on it. Any of your scorecards or call lists, you can click on the three dots and you can download. What you will find, and I'm not sure it's going to open right now because it is a different screen, but you will find in Excel that it will export this card. It will open and you can then use this wherever you need to send it to or to use it. There's also API integration for upload and download, which technical side, I always put out the disclaimer. I am the trainer and not the technical person, but definitely we've got details available. And I know Francois is also on the call to provide more details on the API, but as easy as click the dots and download and you've got it in Excel if you need to do something on that.
Thanks, Henriette. We've had an interesting question as well. Please, would you just show how we use tags within Callbi so we can do some workflow and channel those particular calls through to specific people, perhaps
Yes.
QAs or escalations?
Yes.
Over to you.
Thank you. I'm going to take you back into the actual call details screen. So when you are or anybody is busy working on a call, let's say you now find something and you realize, oh, hang on, I need somebody to have a look at this. I always like to use the example where maybe this is a very good call that you want your training department to include in the training lessons. Now, very easy. You can leave a note or attach this onto a call. You simply click add tag. You can create new tags. I'm going to say good call for training. Once we've already created the tag. Perfect. Once you've created the tag, it is now available to select. I attach it, and you can attach as many tags or notes onto a call as you need to. What you've done, you've now created another way of categorizing. And when you search on any of your filters, you can now use that tag to go look for that list of calls. That's just another way to create a workflow item, or to create, outside of your queries, your QA passes, your QA fails, some ad hoc ways of creating lists for people where you need to escalate or where you need to take action.
That's great, Henriette. We've had a few questions about using Callbi just to pick up on text as a transcription. The answer to that is yes, indeed, Callbi does audio to text as a fundamental to it, but we are under development with some very interesting add-ons to Callbi, which will allow us to look at text-based interactions in very much the same way as we look at voice. So, Jacques, that I hope answers that question, but we will connect with you directly on that one and give you more information. Another one is somebody is asking to see the dashboards again. Now you can see the questions. And then also that discussion around automated reporting. As Henriette said, yes, the APIs are there to automatically extract the data out of your reports and your scorecards and etc. into whatever downstream systems you might be using, whether it's Power BI or back into Excel, etc. So yes, fully automated on that. Henriette, you see the question about
Yes, I do.
auto fail.
Yeah,
Over to
Siyabonga, to
you.
answer you. So just for the audience as well, if you're not having a look at the question is, does Callbi support auto-fail or auto-zero scoring? At the moment, it doesn't, but it is logged as a development item on our roadmap. We do realize, and I know we work on critical scoring. So yes, it will be released where it will auto-fail if it is a critical fail item. At the moment, and what works is like I've shown you, where you know it is critical fails like your compliance. I like using a separate scorecard for that, because you know your score needs to be 100 on there. But I know if you are looking at an overall QA score, that item will be released.
Excellent. Thank you, Henriette. I'm coming back on live with you. I think that wraps it up. We've had some really interesting questions. Thank you very much. A really great turnout, 55 attendees today. So really thrilled with that. We will be editing this video, cleaning it up a bit, and putting it up on YouTube. We'll circulate it to everybody who either registered for the webinar and was unable to attend, or attendees. So that will be live by later this evening. Also, I reiterate, anybody wishing to have a direct engagement with the Callbi team, whether it is on the operational side with Henriette, Corey, who you see, Corey Springett is handling the sales and the business development, or if it's something quite technical, we'll connect you with Francois Duplessis, our CEO and head of technology. So that's where we are at the moment. So just to reiterate, you've now seen a tip of the iceberg of Callbi and the power of Callbi. As you'll see, easy to deploy, easy to configure, easy to use, and very easy on the budget. So that's why we have very proudly over 50 users in South Africa today, and we're taking on more and more. And we'd love to do a demo to you directly. So thank you very much, Henriette. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that's it. I think for me, it's just Callbi, as long as there's an expression of something on a conversation, and there's also so many other use cases, I believe so strongly that there is for anybody value to be seen and that it is user friendly. So yes, for me, it's just nothing to lose. Come, let us do a demo and let's see how it works on your calls.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Henriette, and thank you everybody for logging in. And we look forward to seeing you in either one-on-one demos or as users of Callbi going forward. Thank you once again.